To strike or not to strike? That is the question. Welcome to Business 7. In this program, we are going to hopefully answer this very hot issue. In today's paper, the Business 7 paper, the printed copy, which of course you can find in Republikein, the Algemene Zeitung, and Namibian Sun, as well as on the web. Our lead story is all about the civil servants' threat to strike and how they eventually sort of convinced government to come up with an offer. So catch that story there. But later in the program, we will also be interviewing an expert on the matter. Also, if you'd like to know what the price monster is doing, we have an infographic on the matter for you that shows you inflation in Namibia going back as far as 1990, and then obviously also looking at the performance of the price monster over the last year, especially when it comes to staple foods. And just if you wonder what the US or the United States is doing in Africa, Business 7 will also answer that question for you. Please stay tuned.
Connection. It's in the human touch, the feeling of belonging. It inspires us and empowers us, creates clarity from complexity. It starts new conversations, unlocks the power of advice, and makes an impact on your life. At Alex Forbes, we pioneer insight to provide you with advice that connects your decisions of today to your impact tomorrow.
He might be living in Uppsala in Sweden, where he's an associate at the Northern Africa Institute. But if there's one man who still has his finger on the pulse of socio-economic and political issues in Namibia, it is Professor Henning. We spoke to him, and the first segment of our interview, we're going to look at the whole issue of strike, the unions in Namibia, and how that fits into this whole concept. Henning, before we get to the nitty-gritty of the strike and the negotiations and all of that, a philosophical question. Some Namibians were in strong support of the strike, ordinary Namibians, and others felt that they're going through the same hardship and they do not have the option to strike. How justified was the civil service to threaten with a strike?
I think that touches on the basic question about trade unionism. And we should keep in mind that organized labor in Namibia has a pre-independence history. African contract workers and then the trade unions in formation, especially NANTU and others during the 1980s, played a very big role and influence in local mobilization in pre-independence Namibia. And some of them paid a very heavy price. We had some of the trade unionists incarcerated, put on Robben Island. Ben Ulenga is one of the more prominent examples. So trade unionism and the anti-colonial resistance directly affiliated, most importantly to SWAPO, were a very close alliance. So that also means that in the perception of ordinary Namibians, trade unionism is very positively perceived. That was also reflected after independence in the alliance entered between these trade unions and SWAPO. And we know until the very day that there was a close alliance too close for some, because it was also basically sharing the same bed, you lose your autonomy. And we have witnessed that over the years, where trade unions were forced to compromise of SWAPO politics in return for having a modest say in SWAPO internal politics, which also came under stress a couple of years ago. So they are not as much involved any longer as they used to be. But as a result, we also saw the formation of new trade unions who felt that was a sellout of autonomous labor interests, of organized workers' interests. So it's a little bit of an ambiguous situation, but the underlying bottom line, I would say, is that trade unionism, and understandably, if not even rightly so, has a very positive connotation to the ordinary Namibians. It's perceived to advocate the interests of the ordinary people. But there we enter thin ice, because I think that touches on some of the debates related to the latest strike and the agreement that was then reached.
While Namibia and its cities are seen as one of the cleanest countries in Africa, plastic pollution is a big problem. Therefore, it's up to each of us to do what we can to reduce the use of plastic, especially single-use plastic bags. At Liberty Life Namibia, we've taken the decision to turn all our old branding items into reusable shopping bags. It's a way in which we can drive sustainability and look after our most important stakeholder, our environment. If you also believe in sustainability and would like more information, please get in touch. Liberty Life Namibia. In it with you.
A civil service to threaten to strike in a time when economic growth in a country is really struggling, is that justified? Professor Henning shares his thoughts. We know that it's been a protracted negotiation process, and the end result not exactly what the workers wanted. How do you feel about the final settlement agreement?
I think it was a wrong decision, but I'm also wondering if it was the right decision to enter a strike threat at this moment in time in the situation Namibia is in. Just to clarify, organized labor force uses strikes as a legitimate instrument to advocate own demands. There's no doubt about that. But you need to carefully select when is the right time to apply such an intervention. And sometimes trade unions choose the wrong moment in time. To give you another example, during this summer in Europe, the main traveling season, pilots and ground staff of various airlines decided to go on strike. They might have legitimate demands, but those mainly affected were the ordinary tourists looking forward after 2 years of COVID restrictions to spend a holiday again somewhere else. That's not the best moment to secure support from a wider public. They were upset not about the airlines, they were upset about the pilots and the ground staff on strike, and they blamed them for not being able to spend their holidays as planned. Coming back to Namibia, it's the same in a situation of deep recession. Going on strike or threatening to go on strike, limiting public services which have already been damaged. And I mainly think about health and education and other basic provisions, which the state offers mainly to the less privileged. Because let's face it, the privileged, they go in private schools, they go in private hospitals. Let the public service strike. Their main interests are not as much affected. So deciding now to go on strike as a threat might not have been the best moment in time. Since the strike did not take place, it's a little bit speculative because we don't know how the public would have responded. But I would have been reluctant to consider such a far-reaching decision with the intention to follow up on it. So, of course, you could also then wonder to what extent was this a serious announcement by the trade union leadership? Or was it not already anticipated, as it is a legitimate strategic consideration, that if you just threaten seriously enough, you might compromise a bargain which is better than what the opponent, in that case, the state, is willing to offer. And to some extent, we could see that, only that I think the result was not good enough.
You know, a few weeks ago, I would never do this on a Saturday morning. Back then, I was standing in line all day. Now it's just like that.
You are using the FNB banking app like I told you.
Girl, it saved my weekend. Now I can do all my banking on this.
Payments, transfers, checking statements.
Even opening accounts. Just like that. Oh, did I tell you what my husband did?
Even me, I want to save time with the, what's the name of the app?
FNB app.
Don't be left behind. Make the switch to the FNB app, online banking or cell phone banking, and change the way you bank to change your life. FNB, how can we help you?
So government and the unions settled, among other things, on a 3% salary increase across all boards. Did the unions let ordinary civil servants, low-earning civil servants down? Professor Henning Malwer has a lot to say about this.
You have mentioned various considerations when we spoke previously this week around the settlement and the fact that it was across the board.
That's the major flaw for me. Namibia is, together with South Africa, the most unequal country in the world. We have unemployment figures which most likely are even considerably higher than the official statistics, and they are already scarily high, especially among the younger segment of the population. We can rather on safe grounds assume it's more than half of them in unemployment. I guess 40% of those in work age are unemployed. And we have a salaried structure with the civil service being the core of employment, formal employment, which reproduces the inequalities. We have a top segment on management levels in state-owned enterprises, which are still conducted like empires, which have mind-boggling salaries and fringe benefits, much higher than the head of state. I mean, some of the figures were made public, and it's a scandal. A similar scandal is the lowest paid people. I ask myself all the time with the salaries they get, how do they manage to make ends meet? And this in times where the recession kicks in and the inflation kicks in, where they basically have to pay double the amount for basic foodstuff. I don't know how they manage. And in that situation, for a trade union to negotiate a pay increase across the board is as scandalous. What they should have done is return to the original notion of solidarity. What does solidarity mean? I think it's a key word on which organized advocacy, including the trade unions, should be based. Solidarity in that situation would mean to advocate the interests of those who are most marginalized within the labor. You could say they are already privileged because they are not unemployed. But how do you make a living with 5,000 Namibian dollars a month and a family? If you then say a salary increase would require a minimum of 10% for all of those with less than 100,000 Namibian dollars income a year. I make the figure up, but just to give you an example. And you freeze the salaries for all those with incomes above, I don't know, let's say 500,000 a year, 400,000 a year. That would be solidarity. And it would be solidarity by those on the higher income levels with those in most need. And if they then cry foul and say, but that means we have to sacrifice, then my reply is sacrifice. Then buy one bottle whiskey or brandy less a month and pay for the fuel. You can afford it for your four-wheel drive. I mean, let's face it. If we continue with enforcing further the inequalities, we add to the time bomb ticking. We need to reduce inequalities, and state and government would have to look at it actually the same. And if trade unions don't look at it, then government should remind the trade unions, because that is good governance, that we need to follow on a social contract. And I think that compromise, even if they then now argue, well, the fringe benefits are deleted for the higher income, it still is a betrayal of a social contract. The trade unions have joined the elite with their deal. They reproduce the deeply entrenched class structures and social inequalities in the country. Because if you increase across the bar, who gets the highest increase? Those who really do not need the increase to have a good, secure living. And I think that is something which damages the image of the trade unions. I follow the comments the last few days. I think the trade unions made a huge mistake. They are now put in the category of a labor aristocracy, which sells out the interests of the ordinary workers. And that is almost suicidal.
Every day, you make choices that make you legendary. Journey together with us on the path to securing your legacy as a member of the League of Legends. With the Select Platinum Bundle Fee Premium Bank offering, you will access tools that will enable you to thrive. If you earn 850,000 Namibian dollars per annum or more, you can apply for this offering today via bankvinted.com.na for only 447 Namibian dollars per month. Bank Vinted, a member of Capricorn Group.
That was Business 7 for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you again next week. Until such time, take care.
In Business 7, you get news on current economic, financial, and business matters in Namibia. The weekly show features interviews with experts and in-depth analysis of burning issues in a way that caters for ordinary Namibians and business connoisseurs alike. We crunch the numbers that matter, decipher statistics that shape Namibian lives, discuss smart money, and explore the impact of global developments locally. Money makes the world go round, so catch us on NTV, oneup2.com, and the Facebook platforms of Namibian Sun, Republikane, Algemeine Zeitung, and Namibia Media Holdings. For news-related or advertising queries, please contact B7 at synergy.com.na.
Connection. It's in the human touch, the feeling of belonging. It inspires us and empowers us, creates clarity from complexity. It starts new conversations, unlocks the power of advice, and makes an impact on your life. At Alex Forbes, we pioneer insight to provide you with advice that connects your decisions of today to your impact tomorrow.
While Namibia and its cities are seen as one of the cleanest countries in Africa, plastic pollution is a big problem. Therefore, it's up to each of us to do what we can to reduce the use of plastic, especially single-use plastic bags. At Liberty Life Namibia, we've taken the decision to turn all our old branding items into reusable shopping bags. It's a way in which we can drive sustainability and look after our most important stakeholder, our environment. If you also believe in sustainability and would like more information, please get in touch. Liberty Life Namibia. In it with you.
Every day, you make choices that make you legendary. Journey together with us on the path to securing your legacy as a member of the League of Legends. With the Select Platinum Bundle Fee Premium Bank offering, you will access tools that will enable you to thrive. If you earn 850,000 Namibian dollars per annum or more, you can apply for this offering today via bankvinted.com.na for only 447 Namibian dollars per month. Bank Vinted, a member of Capricorn Group.
You know, a few weeks ago, I would never do this on a Saturday morning. Back then, I was standing in line all day. Now it's just like that.
You are using the FNB banking app like I told you.
Girl, it saved my weekend. Now I can do all my banking on this.
Payments, transfers, checking statements.
Even opening accounts. Just like that. Oh, did I tell you what my husband did?
Even me, I want to save time with the, what's the name of the app?
FNB app.
Don't be left behind. Make the switch to the FNB app, online banking or cell phone banking, and change the way you bank to change your life. FNB, how can we help you?